Welcome back to Around the Tiers. Now joining me in studio is Chris Nickerson and Matt Gasco with bold local artists of the Southern Tier. They've been hard at work getting ready for the 45th anniversary of A Christmas Carol at the Cider Mill Stage. Thank you guys both for joining me here today.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so to get right into things here, tell me a little bit about the roles that you guys will be playing in this upcoming production.
I play the Ghost of Christmas Present and Marley, another spirit that shows up earlier on. Marley is the ghost, of course, who warns Scrooge of his plight that's about to come to him throughout his night of adventures with these other ghosts. And the Ghost of Christmas Present gives him a nice look into what's going on at that moment in time during Christmas.
And I play Ebenezer Scrooge. I've played Scrooge a number of times, various different theaters, but we're really excited to be celebrating the 45th anniversary of this adaptation, which was written by my acting and directing teacher, and John Bielenberg, who was the department chair at the time. So it's kind of fun to 45 years later now playing Scrooge in a production that I first played in the 80s. So it's exciting to be continuing to do this. It's such a local, a tradition yeah, for so many people.
Yeah, of course, and you guys just mentioned it is the 45th year that this production is happening here. So what does it just mean, you talked about this a little bit, to be a part of all that history, but also for the people in the community who come out to the show year after year?
It's an honor to be a part of this. Christmas Carol was one of the first shows I ever saw in the area. I was in first grade, saw it with my school, and turned to my mom, who was a chaperone, and said, I need to do that. And here we are, however many years later, and I get to be a part of this grand tradition. And I know, just like myself wanting to be in it, there's hundreds and if not thousands of people in the area who it's their Christmas tradition every year to come see this with their family, to share with the magic and have a Merry Christmas.
Yeah, it's also exciting. I think people bring friends who are visiting for the holidays. They might bring them to the show and they see it for the first time. And yeah, it's great to be a part of this for this long-standing tradition. Yeah.
And if anybody has never seen A Christmas Carol before, they don't really know what it's about, what would be, the sort of short synopsis here?
A story of redemption, a story of seeing yourself how you may be and how you might want to be in the future to make amends for what you have done in the past.
Yeah, learning about how you've lived your life up to the present, and you think you've been doing the right thing, and you think you've been doing the best thing to do. And then you realize how the consequences that what you do have on other people.
Yes.
That you don't always realize yourself, but it's a timely story that will always, I think, always be relevant.
Yes.
So, yeah, especially when we have the things we have today with money and capitalism and how that's treated. It's good to see the other side of how it could also be. It's possible.
Yes.
Yeah, and we've been able to get into this a little bit, but of course, with 45 years, I'm sure you guys both have a little bit of a personal history with this performance in particular, whether it be going to see it or acting in it. So just tell me a little bit about, what this show means to you.
I got to be a part of this show almost 15 years ago was my first time in this show when I was in the theater department at Binghamton University. I got to play young Scrooge at the time and a couple other smaller parts. But then after 5 years of being in there, I had to take a 10-year break, and I'm excited to be back, being one of 4 people in this production to have ever played Christmas Present in the 45 years of its production. It's quite amazing.
Like I said, my first production was in the 80s, and I came in to replace Tom Kremer, who was unavailable for one season, who was one of the writers of this adaptation. And so I came in the 80s and did that, and then I had a long break, 10 years before when I moved out of the area. Now I moved back and I jumped into a performance, and in the last 3 years, this is my 3rd year now in a row of playing Scrooge. So I'm really excited to be back in it and to be back in the Cider Mill, which is where I first did my first professional show. So, it's for me personally, it's quite a momentous occasion.
Yeah, when members of the cast of the show sort of come back year after year, is it sort of like, a family reunion for all of you guys getting back together? What's that experience like?
Yes, absolutely. There's little inside jokes, little bits that we play with each other, and it's a grand time. It's absolutely wonderful. It is exactly like a family.
We have Yana.
Yes.
who plays the Ghost of Christmas Past, who's done it a number of times.
Yes.
She's the one we all know. She knows all the lines that everybody has. So if you ever miss a line, you can ask Yana,
Yeah,
and
we
she will
got
tell
Yana.
you what your line is.
Yeah, and is there a specific part of the play, maybe a scene or anything that jumps out to either of you personally as a favorite part?
There's one moment between Scrooge and myself when I'm Ghost of Christmas Present where we're talking about the fate of Tiny Tim. And we have this nice face-to-face moment of serious levity. And I look forward to that every night. It's very heavy, but very true and wonderful.
And I have to say that Scrooge's turnabout, discovering the glory that is Christmas, is always so much fun to do. The joyousness in his heart that he gets to express is so much fun for me to get to do. I love it every time. It's so much fun.
Yeah, and you guys have each, played a couple different roles within this production in the past, but if there's either an old role that you could go back to or maybe a new role you never played before that you could jump into, is there anything that jumps out?
Someday, down the line here, I would maybe love to play Scrooge eventually, and however long that'll be. But I loved playing young Scrooge. That was an absolute blast. I got to play opposite my teacher at the time, Tom Kremer, who was Scrooge, and it was special. It was a great time.
I love Marley. So
Yes.
anytime you can play Marley, it's a great character, Yeah.
And this is a good one right here. I'm going to give you guys a second to think about this because it's a little bit of a challenging question. But if you could sum up the production in just one word, what would you say?
Wow.
Joyous. Joyous. I leave that theater after every rehearsal and every show with a smile on my face, knowing that we had a chance to tell a wonderful story, and it's joyous, yes.
And I'd probably say heartwarming, because it has that kind of, at the end, you just feel so good
Yes.
of what's possible.
Yes.
Yeah, and what would be just, the quick pitch for anyone who's never seen this production before to come out sometime this December?
If you like a little bit of ghost stories within your Christmas spirit, a little bit of mystery, and a story of finding yourself and finding the world around you in a new light, come check it out.
And I think what makes this adaptation so much fun is that in the play, we're a bunch of actors who are in a production of Christmas Carol, and one of their members' children is sick. So we're all at his house, and we decide to do our rehearsal for their child. So we're not just the characters, we're also actors. So we get to play that double thing back and forth between being the actor and being the character. So there's a lot of fun in this adaptation that you don't always get with Christmas Carol that we're able to bring to it.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you guys so much for coming on to talk a little bit more about the production with me today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for having us.
And all performances of A Christmas Carol will take place at the Cider Mill Stage located at 2 Nanticoke Avenue in Endicott. Shows start on December 13th and run through December 22nd. Showtimes and dates will vary, so make sure to check the Cider Mill Stage's website for more information on when you can check out this Southern Tier holiday tradition.